Good morning, if anyone's here. Can you let me know if you can hear me? I have on a headset and I can't tell how it sounds, so I'm going to pause it for a minute so I can hear it myself. All right, what about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And also let me know if I'm talking too loud. Pausing so you can hear me. And the little green lips on my screen shows me when sound is going through. So the little circles like pulsate. But I don't guarantee that you can hear it. Can you hear me now? Okay, great. Excellent. How's everybody doing this morning? I don't know about any of you guys, like where you're all at, but here our weather is so up and down. It makes me so exhausted when it switches from fall to winter. And if anyone lives in Michigan, you know, good morning, Paul, Carrie, Dina, Jen. Good morning. Ooh, my throat. Excuse me. So here it'll be like 80 degrees, and then the next day it'll be 40. But our fall and spring are both like 2 weeks. So we have like half the year is winter and the other half is like summer, fall. It's so weird. Waiting for Duchess. Really? Yours still says that? Okay. Hello, Mr. Richards REM. It was snowing here yesterday. Yeah. Where are you at, Carrie? You must be somewhere north. Well, actually, you might be anywhere because the last few years, like everywhere it snows. It's totally unpredictable now. Hashtag global warming. We won't get into that. Okay, good. All right. So because I've got I just finished reading a book and I have to edit it, which takes way longer than just reading a book. And then right after that, I have a really, really big one. So on YouTube, I'm only going to put out for the rest of this month one video a week. Can you guys hear me now? Even better? Or let me see, New Hampshire. Okay. So are you like coastal? That's like right on the coast, isn't it? I'm super jealous because I've only seen the ocean a few times. Like we've went all over the United States. Well, the one half of the United States when I was a kid. And I only saw the ocean when my husband and I went to Florida, like when we got married. We got married in Florida. So I always picture New Hampshire as being like it's so quaint in my head. Anyways, so because I've got a book to edit that's massive, and then right at when that's done, I have to start reading another book that's bigger than that. YouTube videos are only going to be once a week, so when I have some extra moments, I'm going to come on a live stream and read for you guys. Live near the coast, but I live in the woods. Oh my gosh, it's even more picturesque. I'm going to have to like stalk you and see if you have any pictures up so I can see. Okay, so I found these stories, 16 people's stories of being neighbors with the murderer. And I just read the first one a few minutes ago, and it's not very long. Like most of you guys know that when I do such and such many stories, they're not usually very long, but they're so messed up. Go back and see. Good morning, Vinette. Vinette. Or is it V and then Nettie? You'll let me know. I'll come back and check. Okay. Let's see here. All right. The first story. I was in the dorm room a building over from a guy who chopped up his parents with an axe. He came back to school like nothing happened before being arrested. He was in a poker group I frequented, so we met several times. I never really noticed anything out of the ordinary with him. His frat brothers all said he seemed off and was creepy, but they only said that after he killed his folks, and the story was getting media attention. And I will share you the picture with him of him. Hold on a second. That's all it says of the story, and then there's a screenshot of him. Oh, it's not letting me share it. Okay, there we go. So you can see the guy here in a second. And there's a whole Wikipedia on him. I didn't go into why. Let's see. He doesn't even say why he killed them. But there's a whole, oh yeah, I guess so. But I don't want to read the whole thing for this, so let's just get back to it. Stop screen sharing. Okay, there we go. Back to the lips. Good morning, Angela. There was one ex-murderer, yeah. That guy that you just saw. He was the one who, he's cute. Yeah, I think that's why they say never judge a book by its cover, because, you know, murderers and stuff. Okay. All right, this is the next one. This is number 2. When I was growing, my throat is going in and out, so I'm really, really sorry. Whew, I'm having a hard time breathing today too, so you are all welcome. When I was growing up in suburbia, we lived next to a beekeeper. This was all well and good, except for the fact that he would always try to offer to pack any cuts or broken bones or really any injuries offered with his bees. Other than that, he was a fairly normal guy. Then he killed his wife and himself after eating his cat. Somebody commented last week, like, are these stories true? They sound made up, you know? I mean, they're so crazy. I swear, I don't know if anything can shock me at this point. Angela, good morning. Did I already say that? I probably did. I'm on coffee cup number 2. It's not working. I know that I saw something in the coffee aisle last week where you could get like those little espresso shots. They already have it in liquid form, ready to go for you to put into your own coffee at home. And I might have to do that. I feel like it's not working. I don't know if it's like the season change or what, but man. Yeah, that was pretty gross. Okay, on to the next one. Number 3. When I was very young. Oh, wow, there goes my throat. When I was very young, someone who lived down the street stabbed 2 of his daughters to death. He had gotten very depressed and planned to kill his whole family, commit suicide, and meet them in heaven. He snapped out of it after killing his 2 daughters, called the police, and sat in his yard until the police arrived and arrested him. I didn't know him or his family, but as far as I know, no one suspected him, as he acted normal until he was ready to kill his family. He's currently in prison and is apparently much better now that he's been treated. In fact, his wife has forgiven him, and wants to get back together. Although I'm not sure his other children forgive him. I understand forgiving someone for something, but that doesn't mean that you let them right back into your door. So that's another subject for another day, I believe. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, Schmeister. The Schmeister. You should have used the honey to tenderize the meat first. So, Duchess, you know, honey is really good for if you have allergies, and it can be a great antiseptic too. So if you have a wound, and not just regular honey, it's got to be the unpasteurized. So it's almost like a little bit, it's really, really thick. It's really good for allergies and for treating a wound. Deathly Logic. Good morning. All right, let's get back to it. All right. Lived in the same neighborhood as Drew Peterson, who was a cop convicted for killing his third wife and suspected in the murder and disappearance of his fourth wife. He was fairly normal as far as most people are. His older kids went to our schools, and the ones closest to my age were his senior class's valedictorian, very smart kids, and nothing out of the ordinary. Drew Peterson is a cop who basically killed every wife he's ever had. Or I'll say suspected, because I don't want to get some sort of slanderous crap slapped on me, which I don't have enough exposure for anyone to think that anything that I say is that big of a deal anyway, but I'm just saying. Supposedly. But he's suspected of killing all four. Or wait. I'm pretty sure I'll have to Google that, so I'm just going to shut my mouth until I know what I'm talking about. I knew Candyman was onto something. Haha. That movie Candyman scared the crap out of me, by the way. Like, when I watched that, I was so scared for anyone else to joke around and say that in front of a mirror. I was like, nope, I'm out of here. I'm not doing that. All right. Number 5. There was a guy, a hired gun for Hell's Angels, lived a couple houses down from mine. He killed 27 people, and nobody ever had a single doubt about it, including my father, who was a policeman. From what I was told, he was a nice guy, and there's a link to a news article. Let's click on it. Oh, there's no pictures or anything. It's just another thing to read. I'll save you guys the boredom of that one. All right, number 6. She said he was nice, but mostly kept to himself. My aunt lived up the street from a serial killer named Robert Burdella. Never heard of him myself. For a couple of years. We went to a store called Bob's Bazaar a few times, but I was too little to remember. She said he was nice, but mostly kept to himself. She never thought anything about him, really. He was just a dude up the street. She moved just a few weeks before the man escaped from Burdella's house. She said that looking back, there were no red flags or anything suspicious. She said that knowing those horrible things were happening just a few yards away from where she slept gave her nightmares for years. After the news broke, Kansas City is kind of a fucked up place. Wait, Jen, isn't that where you're from? Or no, Kansas. Not from Kansas City. Okay. Black Eyed Kid, good morning. Sup? Good morning, good morning. Let me see. I'll have to look that person up. Robert Burdella, has anybody heard of him? I'm Googling him right now to see what's up with this dude. Ew, get rid of that other guy's face. Was still on my computer. Before I look this guy up, does anybody know who it was? He was in, I live in a suburb. Okay. Kansas City. So you've heard of him then, John? Okay. Robert Burdella. I accidentally clicked on his face instead of his article here. Robert Burdella was an American serial killer known as the Kansas City Butcher and the Collector, who kidnapped, raped, tortured, and murdered at least 6 men. When they say at least, know that it's always going to be a more like triple to quadruple or more. Whatever they say at least 6, they probably can pin 6 on them because that's what they have enough evidence for. But more than likely, it's always way more than they figure out. But all right, so that was between 1984 and 1987 in Kansas City, Missouri, after having forced his victims to endure periods of up to 6 weeks of captivity. So then he killed them. Describing his murders as being some of my darkest fantasies becoming my reality, Berdella pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder of one of his victims in 1988, and would later plead guilty to one further charge of first-degree murder and 4 charges of second-degree murder in December of 1988. He died of a heart attack while incarcerated at the Missouri State Penitentiary in October of 1992. Berdella became known as the Kansas City Butcher due to his practice of extensively dissecting his victims' bodies, which he would then dispose of in garbage bags, and the collector, due to both the movie, which he stated was the basis of the fantasies behind the modus operandi of his crimes, and much of the evidence subsequently uncovered by investigators. Well, I learned something new today, and I'm all full up on that one. He did a little urban exploring with it. Wow. That is creepy. I can't believe I've never heard of him. Learn something new every day. Every day. The same person that told that story had a second part to their thing that said, my aunt on the other side of my family went to church with BTK. I think he was even a deacon or something in their church. I have to do BTK pretty soon because it's been requested a lot, but I felt like when it was requested, I kept seeing so many stories on YouTube about him. And I hate to cover someone who's already been covered so many times. I feel like I can't bring anything new to the story. But what's weird is when I did Ted Bundy, I learned a lot more about Ted Bundy when I did my story than by listening to other people's, because I never knew that Ted Bundy was possibly the product, and I say possibly because most likely the product of incest, which explains so much more about him. The chemical makeup of the brain, it explains a lot about why he turned out to be the way he would be. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Number 7. I went to school with Dark Knight shooter James Holmes. Woo. Let's see. I wasn't his neighbor, and I knew him in high school, but I went to high school with Dark Knight shooter James Holmes. I had a few classes with him and talked with him from time to time, but that's it. When I tell people this, the obvious question is the same thing you asked. I'll tell you, it was a surprise. He was smart. He was in honor classes. He was on sports teams. And though after high school I lost contact with him, I'll tell you this. Something changed in that time. Whatever it was may never be known, but the kid I knew isn't the same one that shot up a movie theater. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know what goes through someone's head. What in your head do you think you're going to better humanity by shooting up people who went to the movies? I mean, I don't think you're going to better humanity by shooting into any crowd ever. I'm just trying to figure out what their thought process is, which I'm sure that's what investigators go through every time, like trying to make sense of what in your head made you think that that was a thing to do. Like, I don't know. He liked to dissect humans. Ew. Has anybody saw the Human Centipede? I could not bring myself to watch it. And I know there's like 3 of them, possibly 4 now. Schmeister, he probably spilled a few milkshakes. It's a bummer when that happens to me. Ugh. Yikes. All right, I'll come back. I'll come back to the chat in a second. All right, number 8. Number 8. I go to school with a girl whose father killed her mother. She seemed pretty chill for someone with a ridiculously strict Asian parents. She always said that her parents argued a lot, but it was just business as usual, typical Asian stuff. She said sometimes that's what the girl said. So I'm just reading what's wrote here. I'm always afraid of, you don't know how many times when I'm reading something where I pause and I think, okay, how can this be construed to other people? Is this going to be construed wrong? I think about that all the time. Or when I say, holy crap, I have to pause so many times when I'm reading something new and edit out, what the fuck? Like, how did this happen? How is this something that someone thought was okay to do? I don't know. So when I live read, I just say whatever. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. All right. So back to the story. So come 5 or so months ago, she finds her mom's corpse hidden away in a closet after walking home from school. Apparently, the couple was arguing and the dad just pulled out a gun and shot her between the eyes. This happened during our school time, so the dad skips town for the airport nearby. It's a good thing his conscience got to him because he turned himself in the next day. The daughter returned a week later and didn't seem nearly as phased as someone whose mother had just been murdered. She seemed to be functioning excellently in school, but wouldn't talk to me or anyone else at school for weeks. When she finally did, she told me that she was staying with her aunt, who luckily lived very close by. She never told me how long her father was in for or what charges, but she did say that she'd most likely never see him as a free individual again, in the most tonally upsetting way possible. She also told me that she should have known this would happen, and that she never wants to see him again anyway. I've never seen a person cry that much after that day in my 16 years. Whew. Apparently, I lived approximately 5 houses down from that place. I don't look in it when I commute home. The only thing I did after her mom's murder was place a few roses on the porch. A few hundred were already there. She never really mentions that place anymore, and I don't blame her. The only thing she told me about the house is how her mother's murder would only decrease the value of the surrounding houses, including my own. I sometimes hear my neighbor ranting in his senility. Why the fuck did that asshole need to kill her? Not my fault. I shouldn't be paying for it. Wow. It doesn't matter, though. Nothing they can do to change that. Wow. I wonder if that is some people's thoughts. Now it seems like that would raise it. Like people like gravitate towards haunted locations. So it'd be like a desirable location. Gross. You gotta look up the story. Jen says, I realize now why people say that, because if someone goes to watch this back and realizes it's not live, and then you're just talking about the chat but not saying who said what, it could be confusing. So anyway, Jen says, you ought to look up the story about the Independence Avenue killer. He killed prostitutes here in the 80s. It was horrible. I'm learning like about so many killers that I've never heard anything about. That's why I try not to cover. That's why I didn't want to do Ted Bundy, because everyone else had done him. Yet I learned more about him, because all they talked about when they covered Ted Bundy was how he was attractive and lured people in. They never talked about how he was a product of incest. I mean, I think that's where you should start. I think it's a really important part of why he was the way he was. But, or BTK, because I feel like everyone has done a story on him. I mean, has anyone not heard a story on the BTK? I'm just curious. All right, if anybody can hear me. I'm just checking. I keep checking because my internet is quite unpredictable. Can you hear me? Okay, you definitely can hear my chair cracking in the background. I need to get a different chair so you can't hear that. Oh, okay. Okay, good. All right. I don't want to keep rambling on to myself, although I do it all the time. Haha. All right. Pop-up ads. Number 9. There's an ad that I got to click off up here so it doesn't play. Get off of there. All right. This is number 9. Rick was a handsome man, very handsome. Mom said Rick could light up a room with his charm and wit, and always had very beautiful girlfriends. Both my mom and dad were very fond of him. Spent long evenings drinking, laughing, sailing boats, and whatnot. My mom got really sick. She got pneumonia, and my dad worked full-time, so once she was well enough to go home, she was basically bedridden and left home alone for most of the day. Oh, she was left home alone for most of the day. Another thing I can fix when I'm reading by myself. Anyway, one afternoon, Mom was woken by the sound of clanking and footsteps. She weakly called out, asking if it was my dad. Rick sticks his head around the doorframe. She said it was a nice surprise to see him, but wondered what he was doing there. He said he was just really worried about her and asked if she needed a cup of tea or some toast. My mother declined and said not to worry himself and that my dad would be home soon anyway. He smiled and said he would let himself out, disappear around the corner of the doorframe. My mom closed her eyes to go back to sleep when a thought popped into her head. How did he get into our house? Then she starts hearing shuffling noises coming from downstairs. Rick's still here. 20 minutes pass by. She can still hear him pacing downstairs. She starts thinking, blah, 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 blah. You're welcome, guys. She starts thinking to herself that she would like him to go now, and where the hell's her husband at? When Dad finally comes home, Rick has left, and they think nothing more of it. 2 weeks later, Rick is arrested, and everyone is shocked and upset, especially my parents. He was charged for the murder of a woman and an infant and found guilty. Mom and Dad still were fond of Rick, and Mom was still sick, so Dad went by to visit him in prison. My mother said he was visibly shaken when he came home, and Mom asked how Rick was. Dad said that Rick was walking around a local park one late afternoon when he saw a mother and her child out for a walk. He said he followed them briefly before introducing himself. He said he thought the mother was quite attractive, and he wondered what it would feel like if he strangled her to death. So he described how he led them into a shadier area and promptly strangled the mother in front of the child. Then he turned to the child and broke his neck with his bare hands, left their bodies in the daylight. Then he let himself into my mom and dad's flat through an open window and spent half an hour deciding whether or not he wanted to murder my mother. In the end, he didn't, because he said it looked like my mother was dying anyway. My father was horrified and said he'll never visit him again or talk to him ever again. I was pretty shocked when I found out about this. I'm 23, and I never heard them say anything about it. I guess it shocked them just how close they came to being murdered from someone they loved and trusted. Wow, that's really messed up. Dennis Rader was a crazy bastard too. I'm going to write him down. Sometimes I have a list on paper and sometimes I have a list on my computer. Okay. Crap, be right back. He's a very curious fellow. Dennis Rader. Okay. Back to the stories. This is number 10. It takes a minute for this to load, so. All right. This is still loading, and they have like so many ads here. I almost burped in the little microphone on my face. Oh, shoot. It loaded an ad anyway. Okay, let's get rid of that. Dennis Rader was the BTK. Oh, all right. Is that something that everyone wants? Like, is there anything I can bring to the story that hasn't been said? I'm always curious because if anybody watched my Pedro Lopez story, like he was released because the country he was incarcerated in didn't have life imprisonment, and no one knows where he's at. No one knows if he's alive or dead. But he was released because he served his time. Oh yeah, thank you. There's part 5 should be out pretty soon. I just recorded that, Paul. Hale is pretty interesting. I like it a lot. All right. Trying to close this ad out and it keeps tricking me. It's gonna end up clicking on it. There's a Home Depot ad on this website, and when you go to click it, it like moves to the side so you can't turn off of it. It's super annoying. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Basically, they're tricking you into clicking on this ad. Wow. Anyway, all right, number 10. My next door neighbor was arrested in 2011 for the murders of 4 women in California. Before his trial closed, they were able to add 2 more to his charges. They know he killed at least 10. He kept journals and photos, but could only match up 6. His MO also matches 8 to 10 other women's murders in the New York area, so 20 potential women. He was certainly an odd one, but most people aren't murderers. But most odd people aren't murderers, exactly. He was in his 70s, lived alone, did a lot of outside maintenance on his property, but barely left. Yeah, he was probably had bodies hidden there. He would wave and talk to me when he saw me walking my dog every day, normal stuff about the weather or the news. He always seemed irritable, but who doesn't have an old neighbor that doesn't? We invited him to Thanksgiving one year. He brought some foul-tasting stuffing and left 5 minutes later. Oh, God, you probably ate people. Ew, that's exactly what I think. One winter, he was just standing in the middle of the street in the snow at like 3 a.m. He always kept his windows and doors heavily shuttered. In May, my husband and I finally decided to break into his house. It's been sitting untouched since his arrest. And we decided to look around. I can completely see why he kept the windows covered. That house is the scariest freaking thing I've ever seen. And that's where the article ends. Like, why didn't you share pictures? So disappointed. Oh my God, I can't get rid of this Home Depot ad. It's ridiculous. All right. Has anybody ever done that? I so want to do that sometimes. Yeah, I'm just going to read these and then I'll stay on if anybody has any questions. I just had a minute before I have to start editing. Because you know how my internet is, Jen. It's just like, I don't know if it's my internet or my computer, but I know I have a limited time. So whenever I have a moment when someone else isn't home, because anytime someone else is home and the internet has to be shared, it really does mess with my connection. So when no one's home and I have a minute, I'll just like, pop on here, see if anyone wants to hear me ramble. Because I get distracted like shiny things and squirrels. Okay. Number 11. My next door neighbor was arrested for murdering his brother-in-law so that the brother of the brother-in-law would collect all the inheritance money from their money. That's confusing. My neighbor beside the murderer was living a double life, lying that he had a job for General Motors and told his family that he was always on business trips in other states. He was actually having a second fiance that his wife and kids knew nothing about. The fiance was actually a popular radio host around Massachusetts, so that made this even bigger. He got life sentences and his family never saw him anymore and lost everything. The dad stole the college funds of both daughters and the money from the wife's account. He borrowed money from my neighbor down the street and his family lost their house when my neighbor was arrested. He was always strange. The thing I don't like about these is usually I have to edit them quite a bit so that they read better. Love you, bye. Usually in these stories you have to edit them quite a bit so that they read better. I don't want to change the story at all, but sometimes you do have to edit it so that when you're reading it, it doesn't sound like someone's just like mumbling nonsense into the microphone, which, hey, maybe that's what I sound like. I don't know. All right. My neighbor was convicted for murder at 19. He was a clean-cut kid. This was number 12, by the way. Sorry. He was a clean-cut kid, got good grades, and was headed to become a pharmacist. He dabbled in drugs, experimented, as some might say, but overall good kid. Apparently, he got into selling drugs and sold this girl cocaine. She ended up dying almost instantly after he sold it to her. He was charged and convicted of some form of murder, though the judge didn't allow for an important piece of evidence to be shown to the jury. The girl in question had been in a relatively bad accident a week prior and had sustained some serious head injuries. Wow. That's confusing. Ooh, this one's kind of big. Number 13. Even, yeah, like completely screwing people over. Because I don't think that murderers are generally probably good people, unless it's like, you know, Dexter. I don't know. Do you think that Dexter, if he would have had like a family, do you think he would have like stole from their college fund? I don't think so. Of course, I also think they consciously wouldn't have had children because he knew he was a killer. I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion. Anyway, number 13. I can distract myself. I don't need anyone else to distract me. That's why sometimes I have to just keep to myself. And it's not to keep people out, but I know like I have a list. Like every morning, I usually write a list of things that I want to get done. Because really, if you're at home, I'll say working for myself, but I mean, the only thing I really do right now besides YouTube is record audiobooks, but then I have like, you know, a house to take care of and etc. Wow, wow, wow. But it can get crazy with dogs that are unpredictably barky at anything that goes near our house. Like if there's a squirrel that's too close, my dogs go crazy. But if you're going to do anything for yourself at home, you have to be super organized, or self-employed at all. You have to be very persistent with yourself to get work done, or you're not going to get anything done, because it's really easy to get distracted. It's really easy to put other things at the top of your list besides what you need to get done because you're contractually obligated to get it done. That little legal threat hanging above your head, you know, it's different than like, oh, let's say you're a cookie maker and you have your own business, so you have to be organized, and you promised someone. Like, I don't know if bakers are ever under a contract to get something complete. Maybe caterers are. I don't know. I'm getting so distracted now. Okay, number 13. My parents owned apartments, and we became very good friends with a couple that was raising their granddaughter. We would spend almost every weekend, vacations, and even holidays with them. My grandfather was very mafia-esque. Yeah, I can relate. He always had a friend or knew a guy for any little thing we ever needed. He drank more vodka than anyone I've ever met. Also on paper, they didn't have a lot of money, but they always had a ton of expensive things. Anyway, about 10 years ago, he murdered his business partner, who was going to turn him over to authorities because he had been embezzling a lot of money from the company. He tried to destroy the evidence by throwing it in the river. I think it was a hammer and gloves. It was winter. There was ice. Evidence found. He was in his 70s, in prison for life. Whoa. I was pretty shocked. He was a nice guy, very family-oriented, and so loyal to anyone he knew. I was not surprised to hear he had been drinking before it happened, which could have led to harming someone because he probably felt at the end of his rope. I just couldn't imagine him killing someone. I never got the murderer vibe, but I guess alcohol in bad situations can lead someone to do terrible things. Yeah. Duchess works for the mob. No. No way. Can you imagine? There's no way. Like, can you imagine someone in the mafia like me on YouTube? I don't know. My coffee is not kicking in till where it's like helping me out. It's just not. I just can relate because I don't know. I don't want to. Anyway, we're moving on. Number 14. I had a neighbor, Josh, he was 20 at the time, who killed his infant child by shaking it to death. I'm sorry. I didn't read this in advance. I'm just reading them as I'm seeing them, so I did not know I was going to say that. Ooh, he killed his child by shaking it to death. He then tried to cover it up by saying the child was sleeping and gave it back to the mother, who eventually found out that it was dead and called the police. I don't think he actually did it intentionally, but he covered it up and made it look really bad. He seemed like a fairly good kid, too. That family had the worst of luck. Josh's little sister died when he was 15 and she was 12. She fell off a float during a parade and was ran over and killed. Oh my God. About 2 weeks after the daughter's death, the father had begun drinking heavily and tried to ease the pain. One night after a few drinks, the father crashed his motorcycle and became paralyzed from the waist down. Wow. Just wow. Just wow. Wow. All right. Number 15. Ooh, this one's like a... All right. When I was in my early 20s, I moved to South Florida for work. I had 4 roommates and we rented an amazing house. We worked in the bar with a lot of other people. And when we would throw a party, we would literally have 150 to 200 people show up. I even had friends in the police force that would let us run till like 2 a.m. before shutting us down. Well, one night we decided to have this huge bash and we wanted to make some money from it. So we charged $10 a person for the guys. But we didn't want to bother collecting. So we offered this one guy from work some money if he'd work the door and collect. He was this big Hawaiian looking kid. Anyway, the kid collects about $1,000 and my roommate, being drunk, told him to keep half of it. The next day when I find out, I called him and told him there was a mistake and I wanted $300 back, which he gave me no problem. A few years later, my buddy sends me an article about the kid. Apparently, he robbed an IHOP, put 3 to 4 employees in the cooler on their knees and shot them execution style. One somehow survived and identified him. If you want to look him up, just Google Chip Hogan or Hojan. He was a big sweetheart of a kid when I knew him, always laughing, very soft-spoken, like a big young teddy bear. I couldn't believe it. If I knew he needed money that bad, I would have let him keep it. So let's look him up. We're going to Google him. Dun, dun, dun. I really love that I figured out how to screen share so that you guys can see this too. Aww. It says right at the top, Waffle House killer wants death penalty. Okay. I'll just share with you guys really quickly it says Waffle House killer when you look him up. But it doesn't say his name on this, but it's Chip Hojan. It's Hojan. So it's really warm in here all of a sudden. It's making me sleepy. I too know a cat that did this to his son. Oh my God. Manimal, good morning. Accident, terrible nonetheless. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think that, you know what's crazy is there's a movie called Parenthood, and it's one of the, like an older movie Keanu Reeves did. And he had like, his character had like a really bad dad, and he was going to become a father. And he was talking about how his dad was awful and he would beat him up and he was a drunk. And he's like, he was telling his mother-in-law, he's like, you know, you need a license to drive a car, to go hunting, to catch a fish, but any butt-reaming asshole can become a parent. And he's right. He was right, because, I mean, why are there no specifications for teaching people how to do basic parenting? There should be. There should be. There really should be. I'm going to stop sharing the screen because no one wants to see that. All right. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. I got like 5 tabs open. It goes. It goes. It goes a little rough this morning. I think there's supposed to be 16. Yeah. Okay, this is number 16. And it looks to be lengthy. Oh, goodness. Okay, this is the last one, by the way. So let's see if yeah, there should be. Just, I mean, basic things. And you know what, I was talking to my husband about this because my stepkids are in high school now, and it really bothers me that it seems that all schools, all they're doing is teaching kids how to take tests. And we have all these, you know, issues with sexual assault and people that just, they get out of high school, and some of them go to college, some of them don't, but basically they don't you know, there's a guy, if I can remember what he is, I'll post him in my next live read or something. But he was talking about how school teaches you how to do this, but they don't teach you how to get a mortgage, or how to like save your money, or how to do basic life skills. Like there are some life skills classes, but they're not requirements. And they'll teach kids like sex ed, but they don't teach them like what is proper date etiquette. Like how should you act when you're, you know, on, or, you know, how are you supposed to act when you're on a date? Things like that. Basic human things that not everyone's parents clearly teach them on how to treat another person when you're learning how to deal with relationships. Just basic things. I mean, if they could just teach some basic things like that, society would be off to a little bit of a better start, I think. Yeah, the other Krusty Krab killer. Waffle House killer. Well, I would think that you would hate to be known as any ... killer, but you know, I would think the first thing I think if you say Waffle House killer, I'm thinking, man, how many waffles did he have to eat to get that title? That's where my brain would immediately go, because I love IHOP. I freaking love IHOP. Okay, I don't want to sound creepy, but your voice is amazing. I put on my headset so that you can hear me, because if I don't put on my headset, then I have to kind of shout at the computer. I've tried a million times to set up my regular microphone to the computer so you could hear me like on my narrating voice. But today you couldn't anyway, because I'm having a hard time breathing because the weather changes. And I'm really not feeling like 100%. Yesterday I was like at 0%. Now I feel like 25-ish. But just tired, not sick. Hello, Anonymous 808271135. A bunch. Last year for my birthday is like December. It's not like December 18th. It is December 18th. And last year, actually, usually I like to go to IHOP. I'm a total dork. Like, I'm not a fancy dinner person. If I do eat fancy food, I want to eat it at home. I do not want to feel uncomfortable or feel like I have to have some sort of etiquette when I'm throwing down food. Like, I just want to eat. So, and I love pancakes. And, you know, around my birthday, it's usually like the holiday pancake stuff where they have like the extra stuff. I'm a total dork and not a fancy person at all. They call him the slayer of pastry layers. Wow, Schmeister. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to go venture into number 16 here. All right. And if anyone's new, this has been 16 people's stories of being neighbors with a murderer. So they kind of start out with the knowledge of that. So I should have been explaining that each time I went to one. Okay, this is the last one. It was about 7 or 8 years ago when a neighbor moved in. Immediately, we could tell he was a deadbeat loser. Their words, not mine. Okay. Trying to be as polite as possible, deadbeat loser is a compliment to this fellow. He would leave his kids outside in below freezing weather with no coats on. Another neighbor once found their toddler running down the highway near the neighborhood and drove him home. Thankfully, she recognized the boy and knew where he lived. Yeah, you should have probably called the cops if you ever encounter that. Don't just take him home. Oh, she called DFS, which it's some sort of child service, I'm going to guess. And I'll never know how, but they didn't take the kids away from him. If any of you know anything about the foster child system or foster care system, especially in my state, I don't know which is better. I know that there's good foster parents out there, but I've heard more horror stories than good stories about foster parents. Yeah, anyway, that might be why, because it's a last resort. Mind you, he had a small infant, a toddler, 3 children between 5 and 10, and 2 teenagers. He must have had quite a few baby mamas because they were all his. We had neighborhood barbecues in which everyone in the neighborhood would show up with something to contribute. As where he did contribute, he allowed his kids to do whatever they wanted. They ransacked a neighbor's pool and ate a shitload of food. They were all skinny, so we figured they were hungry as hell. One day, we finally met one of the kids' mothers. She was clearly a meth addict. I don't like to judge, but she was a walking meth poster. We began to smell chemicals in the air, and I assume a neighbor called the police because there were suddenly 2 police cars outside his house. We thought, whatever, just a drug bust. Doesn't surprise me at all. Nope. Less than 10 minutes later, the SWAT was everywhere. Several vans full of masked gunmen showed up and surrounded the house. That's when I realized he had done something fucking awful. I originally suspected a bomb, but I don't know why I thought that. We eventually had the police knocking on everyone's doors, telling them to evacuate, and my bomb suspicions were nearly confirmed. Everyone hauled ass out of the neighborhood. We were allowed back into our homes, and on the way back up the street, we saw the dad in cuffs on the ground and the SWAT teams leaving. We got around to asking the police officer what happened. Everything. But they said he was forcing the kids to get hooked on meth and was cooking it in one of the kids' rooms. When the police showed up and he threatened to kill every one of his kids. He managed to kill 2, and the wife was badly wounded. I felt so sorry for those kids, imagining being forced to smoke meth, then watch as your mom gets shot and 2 of your siblings die because your dad is so strung out on drugs. I sat there, not gonna lie, in tears as they took the mom away by stretcher, and within an hour, the 2 little body bags. I knew those kids by name. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. Yes, Sagittarius. Angela, yes. I was actually supposed to be a Capricorn, but I think those vary. There's a lot of things when I read like Sagittarius traits. They're totally not like me. I'm a total homebody, and that's not a Sagittarian trait. Sagittarian trait is supposed to be hang your hat anywhere. I can feel comfortable anywhere, as if I feel welcome. But I'm very much a homebody. I need a home base. I need the structure and the feeling of home. Schmeister sounds like he wants Spartan babies. Huh. Confused by that comment. Not gonna lie, that's a little confusing. Yeah, I think that's it for the stories. There's only 16. That was the end of that. Is there a... There's more, but I don't think I can... Have I been on here for an hour already? I was going to see. Does it say how long we've been on here? I can't see. How do I know how long we've been on here? I think we've been on here for like an hour. Spartans have pretty brutal child rearing. Oh, like the Roman Empire Spartans? Is that what you're talking about? Not 53 minutes. Oh, thank you. Like, because Michigan has, like, you know, the Spartans, so Michigan State has Spartans, so I don't know anyone who's that. Yeah. Venturous. Well, I think the only thing that's true about that, Angela, is I change my hair color like the wind. I think I've had my hair every color but blue. And the only reason that I haven't is because I have done pink to my hair, and it is really hard to upkeep those bold colors. And it gets all over your shower when you go to put more in or wash it out or anything. And I'm already a person that while I'm taking a shower, I clean the shower. I know that sounds insane, but I feel like I'm already in here, so why not try to clean up the shower? I'm a multitasker, and that's sometimes a bad thing, but ever tried glow in the dark hair? No, I don't know how you achieve that. The bright colors already really like to get the bright colors, you have to strip your hair so that it's almost white, or it's not going to look the true to the color. So I don't know how you get the glow in the dark hair. I know that you can use like tonic water to make other things glow in the dark, but it'd have to stay wet. I don't know. Has anybody else tried that? I don't know. Does anybody else want to hear anything else before I end this? We talk about recent current events, but mainly they just make me upset as the last week or so has went on. But I'm not going to get into that on here. It's too traumatic. There was one, I know that a lot of people are going to do Thanksgiving stories, but I've been looking into Native American stories because our family has a lot. Like, I'm not enough of one tribe to claim that tribe as my own, and I don't even have any clarity on what those tribes are. But each of my grandparents all have percentages in them, but they're all mixed with something else too. So it's from all over the place. But I really wanted to venture down that because I feel like it's not recognized enough, especially at Thanksgiving. It's really grazed over. I saw it on someone once. Looks like normal blonde, but pure magic at dark. I would love to know that too. But are you sure it wasn't like in a black light? Their glow in the dark hair. Mortis did diarrhea stories. Now that's horror right there. He did? Oh my gosh. When did he do that? I'm looking over like at the side. You know how when you're watching a video and there's like all the recommended videos next? Usually Mortis is in there, but that's all. Let's read. Almost every single one of them recommended is let's read. And Kyla Rebecca, which I really, really love her. If you guys like paranormal stories, she's had like a whole paranormal life. And when I first started watching her, I think she had about 50 or 500. It was really, really, it might have been 50 subscribers. It was like 2 years ago. Now she's got about 45,000. She's really, really funny, and she tells a lot of paranormal stories, like real life, like FaceTiming stuff. About a week or two ago. Okay. All right. I might just wrap this up now. There's this one. Let me see here. Let me see if this is anything worth it. If I can read it really quickly, then I will. Just a second. Let me look it over again because I don't know if I've read it or not. How if I just read a couple of these? They're just supposed to be 12 terrifying true stories. And I don't know if I've read these or not, but I'll just read this one to you. A man asked me, do you know who my favorite serial killer is? So it was winter 2008. I was a seasonal worker at a major book retailer in a large Canadian city on the West Coast. For background, I'm an Asian woman, 5'3", 130 pounds, and I was 22. Not particularly pretty, but possessed of an approachable resting face and a polite, friendly manner. You are surely shocked that I'm a creep magnet. Yeah. Store opening shift, 9 a.m. I usually worked as a cashier, but it was slow, so I was sent on the floor to shelve the history section. 10 minutes into my shift, a short and unremarkable man walks up to me. Can you help me find the book, The Changeling, the 2008 Angelina Jolie movie about an old-timey kidnapping, is based on that? I told him that while the movie is based on a real kidnapping case, we do not carry such a book. So he says, well, could you recommend some books about other kidnappings? I don't have any recommendations, I say, but I can take you to the true crime section, and I'm sure you can find something there. On our way, he asked me a lot of questions about books on kidnappings and serial killers. Strange small talk, but my read was that he was just socially awkward and a crime buff. The kind of person who thinks someone paid to give you good customer service is someone who will be nice to you and share your interests in any other circumstance. So I left him in true crime, returned to history. At some point, the guy came back to where I was shelving. He showed me some books he wanted to buy. A small, gruesome stack on kidnappings, serial killers, school shootings. Then he said, my name is Travis. He stared at my name tag and said, nice to meet you, Sleepy Bee, Sleepy Bee, Sleepy Bee. Now I remember your name. The hairs on my neck stood on end. I excused myself. I went back to cursing name tags. Then he disappeared. Okay. This is like a two-parter. Hold on a second. And it's loading slowly. Anyone still there? Anyone still there? Testing, testing. It's loading slowly, so sorry. So sorry. Oh. Okay, good. It's loading slowly, so not really sure what's happening. I might have pushed my internet to its limits. Okay, I'm reloading the page because I think this is a two-part story here. It's good to know if this headset works because it's way easier to talk into this instead of trying to be loud enough for my computer screen that's not right next to my head. Okay, this is ridiculous. Read that and then go to the next page. Are you late? Hey, I'm not late, am I? Here he reads. Well, we've been on for about an hour, so I mean, it'll be up for you to read back or listen back to. Does anybody ever listen back to that? I don't listen back to my live streams ever because I ramble so much. It's so embarrassing. I just cannot, like, straight read. I get so distracted. Especially, oh boy, just because I'm a distracted person. Why does DuchessDark not have more subscribers? Let's get the word out. It's not very many women that have a lot. I'm trying to think of, I think, who has more, Kaylee, Elise, or Rainbot right now? There's like 2 women that are up there. But I'm a person that I'm not a fan of beating a dead horse, you know. I have arrived, mother. Okay. I don't know what that means. This isn't loading the thing for me to tell the rest of the story, and it's really driving me bonkers. And I say that in the most calm way because I guarantee if there wasn't a microphone attached to my face, I'd be swearing at my computer. No, it's not coming at all. My Patreon is just like just you few people, and I haven't cashed it out at all. And if I can't get more Patreons, I'm just going to return the money. If I can't get enough patrons, however you say that, I'm just going to return the money to whoever because let's come up with a different ending. Because, I mean, that was the whole point of making it, was to make a website. And the website is, I don't want it to suck. I want it to be good. I want it to be, when you go to the website, you're like, whoa, that was effing awesome. I don't know why I just like edited out my own swear words. I never do that. That's how that's how much I don't feel good today. I don't usually ever edit myself like that. I cannot load this stupid page. But yeah, I try my hardest to upload. I mean, I go through spurts where I can upload daily on YouTube or nearly daily. But that's a lot of work. And I don't know what else to do, really. I'm not a big fan of beating a dead horse. So, I mean, this month I can only do once a week on YouTube anyway because I already talked about I've got to edit a book and then I have to start another book right after that. And it's quite time consuming. And that actually, you know, pays me for my time. So you gotta butter your bread first. It's just common sense. And I'm thinking about just taking all the ads off my YouTube anyway because I've never collected a dime from YouTube, like ever. I almost clicked off the live stream so I can't read it. So my thing's never gotten to like, apparently, so if you ever make any money off of YouTube, your AdSense thing has to accumulate to 100 for them to pay you ever anything. Mine's never even gotten to that. Not once. And I have over, like I have 145,000 views. It's supposedly like supposed to average $1 per view or something like that. But no, not even close. So I'm thinking about just taking all the ads off anyway. And I don't have to worry about it. People won't complain about the ads, but you surely won't have content. You're not going to have content like that anymore because I don't know. It's kind of like YouTube makes a lot of excuses on why they don't pay people. They still get paid. And then people say, well, you shouldn't do it for the money. Well, it takes a lot of time. So for you to expect people not to get paid to do that would be kind of crazy. I enjoy it, so I'd never stop doing it as a hobby. And I wanted to make a website. I still want to make a website, but it's going to take a long time to be able to collect enough funds to be able to do it. And I'm going to be honest, if I can, I'm just going to return the money to the people that have donated money, because that just seems like the right thing to do. You know, I don't know. YouTube seems hell-bent on screwing over their creators. There's a guy, I can't remember what his name is, but he talks about how to make YouTube more, your videos get this and that, and how to, deal with the algorithm. And then there's like, coming soon, algorithm changes for 2018. That tells me right there that they have pre-program YouTube to sabotage the success of the creators. It's not an accident this stuff gets buried. It's not an accident of what happens on here. It is pre-planned. They make a lot of excuses on why they can't do this or that, but you're responsible for your website. You're responsible for what happens. And the creators, every creator on YouTube helps YouTube gain more exposure. Whether you've got 10 subscribers or 1 million, you help YouTube. And for them to screw over their creators is unethical. I mean, I have a bachelor degree in business, and I had almost a year dedicated to talking about business ethics and how you're supposed to treat. But I mean, it's not a law. It's just something that you do that because it's right. So screwing over your creators, I hope they fix it. I don't know what else to say other than that. I know that there's people that have wide success. I know that there's lots and lots of men that have tons of success on YouTube. And, I can say that it's all subscribers. So what do the subscribers want to hear? Do they just prefer to hear men? I know that a lot of the men have their recommended channels and it's all other guys. So maybe they only think that those guys are good. That only leads me to believe that some of the other creators that say that they think that I'm good don't really think that I'm good, and they're just being nice. Or they really think that I'm good and they really don't want to promote me. So it's very confusing. I don't know. And now I'm getting all down. I'm losing my voice and I'm so not awake yet, even though I've pretty much consumed this other cup of coffee. But I'm just letting you know because someone keeps asking about the website. But I started a Patreon because it takes a lot to get a website, a good quality website. Yeah, you can make a free one off WordPress, but you can't do what I want to do with that. So I don't know. I don't know, because if you make a website, you can monetize that, and then the traffic, the traffic with the ads pays you like it does here, but there wouldn't be ads in the videos. There would just be ads on the website, and then you can click on the video. And I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like it would be better. Maybe not. I don't know. I constantly question myself. Thank you. That's very kind, Harry. Mortis Media. Oh, should I say Mortis Media? I love that. Mortis really has some, and I told him this too. He has really helped my channel because at my year mark, I had just hit 1,000. And, Unit did a video with me, and then that really pushed me over the edge. But then Mortis did a video with me, and I did the video with Mortis, and It took me a whole year to get to 1,000. I did a video with Mortis, and then it took me like 30 days to get 1,000 more because of the way Mortis promotes his fellow creators. Like, wow, just amazing. Diarrhea stories. I have to go back and see that now. I'm so far behind on listening to other creators. And I miss out on that when you have to do. Yeah, thank you, Angela. That's very kind. On the positive side, I think there will be a natural evolution whereby an alternative to YouTube will be born. The Facebook took over from MySpace. I think so too, but it's got to be. Here's the thing, though. It's got to be a dedicated horror. And there's horror sites. There's, creepypasta. I mean, it's all stories, but it's not visuals. And personally, I want to go to a website and all I see are horror creators. I know that VidMe is starting something, but I even took my VidMe account down because I just didn't have any traffic there. I didn't have the traffic there that I wanted to see. And it was like hit or miss, and it doesn't have the traffic for, at least for me, that would be beneficial to doing both. So I just took it down. I hope you're right. I don't know why YouTube couldn't just make, another genre in there. If you, just promote them. I don't know why they're in such a battle with horror. It's ridiculous. But it's not just us. I know that there's a lot of other creators that aren't in the horror community per se that put up paranormal videos, and they constantly are worried about how they're wording their titles and stuff. bleedingcritic.com is awesome. Does that have just horror creators? Here's the thing, though. What I want to see when I go, and I don't even want to say this on here because I don't want to give someone else the idea of what's going on in my head. You know what I mean? But it's not just narrators. I'll say that. It's not just narrators benefiting from it, because they're behind the scenes. There are so many more people involved in creating horror than just a narrator. And I really want everyone involved in horror to benefit from what I'm talking about. I'm going to have to check it out right now. bleedingcritic.com. Let's check it out. Maybe we can check it out together. Oops. Oh my gosh, I didn't spell it right. Hopefully I did spell it right when I just typed it in there. We'll find out in a second. Dun, dun, dun. Let me see. I'll share it with you guys in a second here. Let's look at it together. Bleeding Critic. So you guys will see this here. It says it's got film reviews, horror content, blog posts, horror content. Yep. And even this still doesn't have everything that's going on in my head. And again, I don't want to, and it looks like a cool site, but it still doesn't have everything that I want to see in a horror site. It still is missing a large chunk of what I really want to see. All the censoring doesn't make sense since there's already a YouTube version specifically for kids and they just don't promote it or whatever. It is on audio horror and people sub their stories. Oh, oops. Stop sharing, dummy. Own short story. Yeah. It looks like a cool website. How does a bastard orphan son of a whore and a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by Providence, impoverished and scholar, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? Is that an actual question, or do you have an answer to that? Because as I've said many times, my coffee is not working. It's still loading. The ... That's what's in my head right now. ... This is some Inception shit. Are you reading something else, Harry? Catch us up to what's going on in your head here. Anonymous. That's what I'm calling 808 is anonymous. By selling half his gonads. It's a quote from Hamilton, right? I don't know. Here's a riddle I give to people all the time. I used to say this all the time just to screw with people, but most people I know are smart enough to get this. But don't feel bad if you don't. I'm not calling you not smart, so don't mistake me by anything when I say this. But it's funny to watch people that take a second when I say this. What's another word for thesaurus? And then you watch them go, what? For a second, everyone should move on to Pornhub. There's a dislike already and no worrying about adult content. Yeah, except for now, because kids. Yeah. Yeah, Mortis has been busting his butt. He's grown a lot. Because just when we did our collab, I think we were 23,000 and you're almost at 50. Last I checked. Could be more by now. Who knows? I predicted he'd be closer to 100,000 by New Year's. But who knows? I think that October, although everyone's looking for creepy stuff, is slow because the YouTube is flooded with it. So I think that November you see more stuff, in December, and then it kind of slows down, and then February and March it just starts picking up again a lot. 46. What was I gonna say? I'm drawing a blank now. Oh my gosh. Wow. That story I was reading never reloaded, by the way. For that part 2 of that girl's story. Oh my gosh. Now that I said that, now it's going to load. You got to be kidding me. Unbelievable. Click to the next page. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so if anyone recalls, I was reading the story about the girl in the bookstore with the creepy dude who was asking her about kidnapping books. So he showed her the books that he was getting. So no big deal. She moves on, moved around the whole store a lot throughout the day, shelving different sections, filling in at cash. No sight of Travis over the rest of my 8-hour shift because that guy talked to her in the morning. I assume he left not long after he picked up his books. At 5:30 p.m., remember she opened the store, I clocked out and left the store through the front door. The second I went out the door, I felt someone fall into step with me. Hi, Sleepy Bee. It's Travis. Remember me? Ugh, chilled blood. I didn't want to bother you while you were working, Sleepy Bee, so I waited until you finished your shift. Are you going home? I can walk you. Okay, first of all, no. No. And do not be nice to people that are creepy like that. It's okay to be rude. And please stop apologizing to people. All right, anyway. He'd researched many kidnappings and serial killers while he waited for me, he said, heart hammered. Oh, I said, I have to go to the bank. Stop saying my name, I thought. The bank was next door to the bookstore. I hoped that there were other people inside the bank, that he might leave if others were around. But no, he followed me inside. The bank had closed, so no one was there. You could use the ATM, Travis suggested helpfully. I said, right. He waited for me while I withdrew $10. What? Since when can you take just $10 out of an ATM? That's the most amazing part of this story to me right there. He held the door open for me as we left the bank. It was already dark outside. Do you know who my favorite serial killer is? Oh my God, even I don't have a favorite. Oh, I said, I forgot something at work. I have to go back right away. I took off, leaving him on the sidewalk and ran inside the store. Found the store manager and the regional manager in the office. Gassed out that someone obsessed with famous kidnappings stalked me over my whole shift and tried to follow me home. They asked me to call my boyfriend and pick me up and to go by the register while we sent the plainclothes security guard over to wait with me. Act like the security guard is your friend, they said. So if Travis comes back, he won't know you said anything and we can grab him. We'll notify the staff to keep an eye out. The security guard was bristling for action and tried to play it cool. My boyfriend came, we went home, Travis never returned. So you think. The $10 founding father without a father got a father by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter by 14, and they placed him in charge of a trading charter. Wow. You know what's funny is I was reading this thing the other day when I was starting another audiobook, and there's like a whole page of tongue twisters. And there's supposed to be this whole thing that's like really hard to say. Mortis, do you listen to Hamilton or on the register? Regular. I just said register. And every day while slaves were being slaughtered and carted away across the waves, he struggled and kept his guard up inside. He was longing for someone to be part of the brother. Was ready to beg, steal, borrow, or barter. Oh, okay. So if anybody doesn't, I wanted to write a story once. That's awesome, Harry. Does anybody have any questions, though? Because I'm going to start wrapping this up because it's almost here. It's 10:51, and I have to start editing. I just wanted to come on here and give you guys something to listen to. Hopefully it's like, I want to know people's thoughts when they listen back to live streams, if they do. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? It hasn't come to London yet, but I'd like to hear it. See it. What? Am I missing something? Is there a movie? Here's a question. Who would win, Gandhi or Buddha? Here's the answer. They already both won. They're both winners. Insightful, peaceful people. There goes my dogs. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to wrap it up because they're barking like someone's here. Thank you for coming, Manimal, Mortis, Harry, Schmeister. Oh, okay. So I'm going to say thank you for coming and listening. I'm going to wrap it up before my dogs go ham on someone who has no idea what's coming their way. And everybody have a good day, and thanks to you for listening. Bye.